Any good?
Yeah. Mine already got it.
There's no such thing as
No. We know each other. Yeah. So slow.
whole vibe for that. I've got to give them the payoff for what they expect.
Oh, I think that would be fine.
So why do we raise it?
Yeah.
Maybe. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay.
But you might be right.
Yeah. Should we do the budget reading first before our... Report out. Reconvene public meeting. Then? Roll call. Go step over here now. I don't think I'm going to sit on the briefcase. Yeah, I don't want my cushion. I don't want to lose my keys. Again, Chris was not happy. Yeah. She said I owe her. Yes. Okay. Oh, it's 7 o'clock. Okay, here we go. We have some special things here. I'll make sure I can do this right. I'm going to call this meeting to order. First thing I'm going to do is report out what happened in closed session, because that happened before you guys got here. Okay, Mr. Nava motion and Mr. Heavily seconded, and the board approved placement of the 2018-19 non-public school students, numbers 90, 91, and 93 by a vote of 5-0. Also, Mr. Heavily motion and Mr. Porter seconded, and the board voted to approve case number SPE 2019-01 by the following vote, 7-0. 5-0, sorry, 5-0. I'm looking at it. Yeah. And the third one, Mr. Porter motion and Mrs. McFarland seconded, and the board voted to approve case SPE 2019-02 by the following vote, 5-0. Finally, Mr. Heavily moved the board second to instruct the district negotiators to negotiate the terms to facilitate the exchange of the following properties: 1205 East Vine Street in Lodi and 19 South Central Avenue in Lodi by the following vote, 5-0. And that's what we have for the project. Okay, now I'm going to do this again. Give me this hamburger. We're going to open this up, and the first thing we're going to do, no, actually, that's what I thought too. But apparently, we're going to convene a public meeting first. Oh, that's what I thought. Okay, so, is there anybody in the public that needs to? But so you want me to go into the flex? That's what I thought. All right. Going to the flex a little bit. Flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may notice that there's some vacant chairs up here. Mr. Neely is somewhere better. Mr. Freitas is ill. So, seriously, at St. Thomas Virgin Islands. So, therefore, he decided not to call in. There's a time change. There's a whole big round world here. And Mr. Freitas is ill. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to declare the public hearings are now open. California Schools Employees Association and Realtors for the 2019-2020 year. Bill, do you have anything to add to that? No. Anybody from the public? Okay. Any comments from the board? Right. And then, bias for the public. Okay, so I'm going to declare public hearings closed. For that one. Now we are opening it for the LCAP Local Control and Accountability Plan. Did I skip one? It's a good thing you guys are sitting here. We would have done this meeting by now. Okay, this one is the public hearing provides an opportunity for public comment regarding charter school petition received by the district from Gateway Community Charter, Gateway Academic and Vocational Academy. Mr. McGregor, do you have a comment for that?
President Backstab, Dr. Washer, members of the board, I'd like to provide the public with the opportunity to comment on the petition received from Gateway Community Charter regarding their desire to open the Gateway Academic and Vocational Academy, beginning with the petitioners.
Okay. Should I ask any board comment first? Okay. Thanks, guys. Bear with me. We get through it.
Good evening, Board President, members of the board, and Dr. Washer. Thank you so much for having us here tonight to give you just some information and a brief presentation on Gateway Academic Vocational Academy. My name is Jason South. I'm the Chief Communications and Strategy Officer for Gateway Community Charters. Also here with me tonight is our lead petitioner, Dr. Cindy Peterson. Dr. Peterson is the superintendent and CEO for Gateway Community Charters. In addition to that role, she also serves as the board member for the Fiscal Crisis Management and Assistance Team, also known as FIGMAT, a former Access State Board member, as well as an adjunct professor at Brandon University, and a two-time Access Region 3 Superintendent of the Year, as well as a member of the S-Source Board. Also here with me tonight is Assistant Superintendent Michael Gillespie, as well as Academic and Vocational Academy Principal, Mr. Maury Kelly. First of all, we would like to thank you for the opportunity tonight to just share with you about our programs as well as the students that we serve and the work that we do in particular with at-risk youth. Tonight we do have a brief presentation to share with you as well as additional information regarding our proposal that has been submitted to the district for Gateway Academic and Vocational Academy. Now I would like to turn the mic over to Assistant Superintendent Michael Gillespie.
Good evening, Board President, Superintendent Washer, and Board. My name is Michael Gillespie. If my face seems a little bit familiar, I was in Lodi for over 19 years. I was the teacher in the Migrant Ed program at Sutherland, and then I started the Opportunity class at Sutherland School, and then I was vice principal at Heritage Elementary, and then I was the founding principal of Joe Sermon Charter School, and I was there for 12 years before moving to the Community Charter process. So I'm very happy to be here to present to you tonight, share with you a little bit about our organization. So leaving Lodi for me was very hard, but I left at a time where I was ready to do something different, and Gateway Community Charters offered me that opportunity. I did a lot of research about the Gateway Community Charters before committing to them, and I heard nothing but positive things from the people within the charter community that I knew. So Gateway Community Charters is a nonprofit organization, 501c3, and it's been around for 17 years. We manage 9 charters in 5 different districts. So it's San Juan, Twin Rivers, Sac City, Elk Grove, and then Yolo County. We have a track record of program integrity. We provide oversight as the central office. We provide purchasing, payroll. We do HR support. We provide support for LCAPs. We write 9 different LCAPs. One LCAP is very hard, but we have to write one for each of our schools because each charter has to write its own LCAP. We have over 500 employees, and we serve over 4,800 students in the Sacramento region. For the last 16 years, we've had positive fiscal audits with 0 findings on the fiscal side. We completed this year, and I'm very proud to say I was part of this, a DSA project through a Prop 1D grant for charter schools. It's a $30 million project school. One side of the campus is K-8, the other side of the campus is a 9-12 school, and we'll be paying off those bonds through the state over the next 15 to 20 years. We also received Best Places to Work in Sacramento for a group our size, competing with the likes of Golden One Credit Union and some of the others. And if you notice on the bottom of this slide, these are some of the partners we work with in the Sacramento area. We have partnerships with Los Rios Community College for articulated courses in CTE, setup, and also the Greater Sacramento program. So I'm going to turn over to Maury Elliott, the principal of the Sacramento Academic and Vocational Academy campuses. All right, Jason, Maury would be next, and then I'll come back to close out. Thank you.
So I want to share just a little bit with you, really what we call the why, and what we believe. So I think the community charters, and within all of our schools, to the core of who we are, we believe that all children can learn, and we create the opportunity through schools of choice that serve the educational needs of students focused on vulnerable, unserved, underserved, at-risk, disenfranchised, culturally diverse, economically disadvantaged, homeless, parenting teens, working young adults, fifth-year seniors, and individual learners. At the core of who we are, that's what we do, that's who we serve, and that's who we believe. The intent of this particular charter proposal is really this. It's a replication of our already successful Sacramento Academic and Vocational Academy charter that was birthed in the Twin Rivers Unified School District. It was replicated in the Sacramento City Unified and also replicated in the Elk Grove Unified School District. This charter will serve students in grades 7 through 12 with the focus on career technical education. It's also kind of important for me to note with you here tonight that as a school with a strong CTE program component, we partner and provide what's called WIOA, our Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act services to students. And I want to make sure that I note right here for you tonight that SAVA has a very structured case management program as well as the academic services that Maury will talk about here in a few that really implements all the aspects of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which is a federal act. But I want you to know that we are not, once again, we are not utilizing the WIOA exemption of Ed Code 47605 for location purposes. It is our desire and our heart to partner with the district here with you to serve these students. Which really then brought us to why Lodi, why LUSD. Really looking at our core values, our strategic goals, we felt that the mission and vision of this district mirrors and matches the mission and vision of Gateway Community Charters, especially in these 3 key areas of preparing students with the integrity and skills required to adapt and succeed as responsible citizens in an ever-changing world. This is the work that SAVA does, as well as Gateway, to provide curriculum instruction that educates, challenges, and inspires all students. That's to the core of who we are. And then to support a broad course of study that offers students the skills and opportunity to develop and enhance their interests, their talents, and skills in core academics, career preparation, and elective fields. So therefore, we feel that we are in alignment with the district, and that is what really makes us want to partner with you. We have a 17-year track record of partnering with our districts in collaboration, and that is our desire here. Principal Moriel is going to come and talk to you a little bit about our program.
Good evening, Board President, Board Superintendent. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Again, my name is Maury Elliott. I am the principal at SAVA. I've been principal for the last 7 years, started 13 years ago as a teacher at the school, and I've been able to see the growth and the impact this type of program makes in our community. Our mission, really our passion at SAVA, is to create programs that give every single child in our school system the opportunity to succeed. So often we see specific groups of students who struggle in a traditional high school model. What we've done is come in and say, hey, we're going to take everything that we can that works for the student and add to a program that provides even more than they're currently getting to meet their specific learning style and learning needs. Every student has a different way to learn, and our goal is to make sure that we create opportunities where they will find that need met in our school system. The average student that enrolls at SAVA, and will enroll at probably yes on this petition, is 3 to 4 years below grade level in both math and reading initial enrollment. Currently at our SAVA school, if you are a new student coming in, you can average 2 high schools prior to SAVA, and you are a full year credit deficient with your credit for graduation. This goes to show just the need we're meeting in the community for students who need a different type of learning style and learning system. Current enrollment across all SAVA campuses, and again, we look to serve the same demographic here in Lodi. We are 42% Hispanic, 26% African American, a very high number of unduplicated pupils for economic, foster youth, and village learners. And then specifically, I want to point out special education. We serve approximately 20% of our student population with IEPs, and that is significantly higher than most other districts that we serve. Our type of individualized education program often really does fit the needs and tailor perfectly to these students with learning disabilities. One point I want to point out we are very proud of, over the last 3 school years at SAVA, we graduated 71% of our credit eligible seniors, which is a huge win when you're looking at the struggles that many of our students have come into the school. We give you an extensive detail in the actual charter petition about our educational programs. I want to cover just a couple of key elements here. First off, this school will operate a focused, individualized learning plan for every single student. And no 2 students will have a schedule that looks exactly the same. That's the beauty of it. Just making sure we meet the individual needs of each student. We know when students come in, when students come in, having experienced challenges over and over, the first thing these students need is to be loved on. We provide a model of love teaching guide. Everything we do starts with the foundation of making sure kids feel loved, feel accepted, feel welcome in school. One of the ways we've done this at SAVA and throughout the community charters is through a program called Capturing Kids' Hearts. It is the foundation of how we build relationships, relational capacity, and really empower our students to be ongoing lifelong learners. And we are a 3-year running national showcase school with the Capturing Kids' Hearts program. We offer a collegiate style schedule at SAVA. Students are on site between 2 to 4 days a week. It really is a hybrid model. Students will be taking courses through our online curriculum called Ingenuity, and they will also be taking classes on site, whether it be math and vision classes, a lot of makeup classes, art, music, creative writing, and then the big focus that we have is CTE. And on the next slide, we're going to detail about the current pathways we have and our plan to build the same pathways here with the Gateway Academic Vocational Path. Another key piece is doesn't matter what pathway you are a part of, you are going to be a student that has career workshops, that has career exploration opportunities, that is out in the field and industry working on job shadows and internships, and really just finding real-world experiences throughout your learning experience at this charter school. Current projects that our students work on include building tiny houses and building the homeless veterans in our community. We have culinary students in our hospitality pathway that are catering events out throughout the Sacramento region. And we have had very strong partnerships with the city of Sacramento Our CTE program at SAVA currently has 10 pathways spanning 7 different sectors. And obviously, as a new charter in Lodi, we won't have all of these year one, but this is the goal, to build these same types of pathways in this new school system here in this community. We have done a great job building relationships with local community colleges. We currently have 16 different classes that are articulated within our different pathways, which means that a student is taking this course with us at our school. They're earning both high school and college credit at the same time. And with the yes vote of this petition, we will work with one of these same relationships with San Joaquin Delta College to make sure that our students at Gateway Academy will have those same articulation opportunities. CTE is not just something that is an option for students in this charter. CTE is something that we require as part of our graduation requirements. So every student that is a part of this school will be required to take at minimum 4 CTE courses throughout their time with us. Just to dive deeper into what we do for our CTE program, I will show you a quick 2-minute video. Well, it's not popped up automatically, so we will share it with you out after this meeting. But please take a look at it. It highlights our 10 pathways and all the work that our students are able to do within those courses. So thank you for your time, and I will pass it back over to you, Dr. Russell.
Thank you. So one of the questions that came up on initial review from the staff was talking about our proposed location. In order to have a location, we really need to have a charter approved. It doesn't make sense for us to enter into a location agreement with a real estate company or a landlord without having a charter approved. However, the area that we are looking at in terms of proposed location is the Hammerlane corridor along I-5. So we're talking about North Stockton. We've identified a couple properties right on Thornton Road. And again, what Principal Elliott described is our program can start very small. To us with special education needs are our students. So if a student comes to us who we are not able to serve, it is then our responsibility to pay for and find the right place and services for those students. They do not get turned back to the district if their needs are not able to be met in the programs that we do. So in conclusion, we'd like to thank you for your time tonight. Students are out this week. This is our last week of school in Saba. We do have some summer programs happening, but if any of you would like to come visit one of the campuses, see our facility, it's an amazing facility that serves students really well. So we invite you to come and thank you very much. And if there are any questions, thank you. Okay. Any comments?
Hi, I'm Doug Zelke, Altesia, just Washington. President Thanks, Dr. Washer, members of the board. What I would really like to have clarified in clear English in terms of Mr. Gillespie is the perfect person to help me with this is I taught at a charter school. You would never know it. You would show up to your job, do it again the next day. But that school was very connected to the district. My understanding is Joe Cern is also very connected to the district. How connected would this school be to the school district?
That's not a question for the charter folks. Joe Cern is a dependent charter. It's one of our schools, whereas this would not be something like
Good evening, I'm Patrick Ainsworth. I'm here to speak as a private citizen on behalf of SAVA. I spent 47 years in education. The last 16, before I retired 6 years ago, I was assistant superintendent for secondary education for the state of California and the state director of career technical ed. Currently, I'm a professor of education at Graham University. I've seen a lot of CTE, a lot of high schools, a lot of ed option schools in my career. I was drawn to SAVA by request to come in and really take a look at their program and do a deep dive in their career tech ed area, as well as look at the academics to some degree. And what I found was what you saw on the slides tonight, and a real desire for social justice to help those kids who have disappeared from our school system. And they find a way to reach out to these students, draw them in, and help those students create a vision for themselves. They come in, I've seen them, the most downcast students you could ever imagine, people that have just given up at such a young age. But they start working with them, and suddenly they start to experience success. And they start experiencing success both academically and in their classes. And it is really magical to watch this change and students being saved that otherwise would just be another one of those people out on the street that we're having to support through public services. So, in my 47 years, I'm a public education guy, a school district guy. I've never supported publicly a charter school, but I supported it. Nonprofit, different model, reaching kids in school districts. And I urge you to give them a good look and approve it. Thank you very much.
Sarah? Corey?
President Knaxton, Dr. Washer, members of the board. I believe strongly that we should be keeping our kids within our district. As we have looked at charters and charters in our area, we've looked at how those programs come and go. Now, this program has been successful up in Sacramento, but I think our kids and the models that you are looking at as a board and our district is initiating change with programs that meet students with different needs that don't fit into the model, like Valley Robotics. We've heard your interest in other CTE kind of pathways and models. We already have a partnership with San Joaquin Delta College, with Middle College, now Valley Robotics. Should we continue adding courses and pathways and programs and schools within our district? Yes. We should be keeping our kids, and as you have talked about in the past, looking at what kids that we are not capturing, what kids are we disenfranchising that doesn't fit that same model. So we're already on that path, and I'd like us to keep our kids in our district, with our employees, with our teachers. We have the need to, and desire for change and reaching students. We hope that you look at this and look at, is this the model where we best meet our students, or are there models that we're developing that would meet those same needs and those students would stay within our district? So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah. Kyle Harvey, the California School Employees, President of the United States Superintendent and Board. We would like to, just on behalf of our members and our state association, speak strongly against approving new charters at this time. Independent charters have impacted our public schools in a really negative way because of the unfettered growth that's been allowed over the last 24 years since they were first allowed. Certainly there's innovation in other ways that we can serve these students. We do see members of the ADA that we need to figure out a way to capture those students that aren't coming to school, but having another charter come in and take away your students that you're serving means that it's less money for those that are left behind. So when you consider this, think of the legislation that's pending right now in the legislature that would allow you to consider these fiscal impacts that you no longer had before. We do not
not know if that's legislation AB 1505 will pass, but it is right up there, and they are talking about it at the highest levels of the legislature and the governor's office right now. So I would like to ask that and recommend that you table any kind of decision on any new charter until this legislation has a chance to either pass or fail. And if it passes, it will give you more authority to look into the fiscal impacts of the district, not just in the next year, but in the next 3, 4, 5 years, and let you make that decision on whether you can reach these students that they would like to through the programs that are existing or that you can make, or through some other avenue. Thank you.
Yeah, no decisions we make, not just the information we have from process.
Hi, Board. My name is Steve Steele, and I'm just an eyewitness to the SAVA program. I spent 7 years living in Lodi and married a teacher, so I got to witness the educational program at work in various capacities. My wife has worked at SAVA now for the last 8 years in Elk Grove, and I think the best way to describe what SAVA does is it just gives kids a second chance for not making it in the traditional channels. Maybe the best way to share this like this, I'm going to tell you about 2 students that have come into our lives. I won't use their real names just for privacy, but Craig is a kid who just didn't make it in several schools, was washing out, not living a life that was going to lead to anywhere productive. He ended up at SAVA and going through their program, and when this kid got plugged into the diesel mechanic program, he lit up. You couldn't keep him away from all of the technical and all of the programs that come along with that. And we realized that math and some of these other disciplines were required in order to be a success in that area. He began to become a kid who would pursue everything that he needed in order to graduate. He graduated about a year ago. Another kid, gal by the name of Lucy, that's not really her name, but she's another kid who was struggling, wasn't making it in traditional channels of education. And just within the last probably 4 or 5 months, as she was struggling at home, and so many of these kids struggle at home and out on the streets and other places, that's part of the reason they're not making it. And you guys know that, I'm sure. But this kid was ending up getting kicked out of her home. And my wife, the heart that she has, that kid came to live with us. And that kid has finished her program this year and will graduate here in just a few days. This is a program that has been proven to work. And I know as you're considering it for Lodi, I'm coming back to Lodi. I just accepted a job here and will be back in the community very, very soon. But Elk Grove Unified was looking at this program too, trying to decide whether or not to let it operate within their borders, within their school district. And after taking a good, hard look, they said, we believe in this program and that it's been successful in Elk Grove. So I would just ask you to give a good, hard look and understand that they are actually reaching kids that are not making it in some of the traditional channels. And this is a good option for some. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Any other public comments? I do have one question. Why did you load up?
So again, going back to really looking at the strategic goals of this district and the mission and vision, we really felt that we weren't aligned. And, you know, one of the things that we do with all of our districts is we work in partnership and we believe in working together to fulfill common needs. And so that's why we chose it and we felt like we were aligned.
Thank you. Any other comments? Closing this public session, hearing, moving on. We declare next public hearing open. This public hearing provides an opportunity for public comment regarding of the local control accountability plan. Okay. Any more comments? Any public comments? Okay. Closing this public hearing. And I'm opening the next one. Budget adoption, Mr. Khan. Any more comments?
Any public comment? Deborah? Okay.
Well, I just want to know if it's the right time.
Yeah, it is right now.
Based on handouts that were available that will be reacted about, correct? I just have a question about, I'm sorry, good evening, President Knaxton, members of the board, Lieutenant Bosher, and Deborah Ladder, President of the CSCA chapter here in Lodi. And I just have a question about the revenue with respect to special education. So I see in the handout that has the charts in it. When I go to the page about special education revenues and expenditures, the anticipated revenue, state and federal revenue for next year is less than this year. Does that include the additional state funding, the additional state $681 million that they're putting towards special ed for next year? Okay, okay. How much, do we have any idea what that might look like for us if it was to go today? Do we have any idea what that amount might be for us? I didn't see a factor. I just saw it's the 681 million, that's 111 million more than that was in the January governor's budget. Okay. Okay. So that could substantially change our current budget. Okay. It's the Prop 98 ongoing funding that we're talking about. Okay, because there's an additional Prop 98 special ed funding that's coming as well. Okay. Okay, so the additional Prop 98 for special ed is included. Okay. And yet our anticipation is going to be less. So are we anticipating fewer special education students? Okay. Yet our costs are going to go up $5 million. Do the preschool students qualify for the Prop 98 money? Will they qualify for the Governor Newsom additional money? Does it include TK or K only? That was my question.
Again, President Nixon, Dr. Walker, members of the board, Mr. Khan, first I want to congratulate you for having a balanced budget even with the reduced revenue. Where I saw a big surprise drop was with the federal funding, showing 83.6% drop in the NCLB, ESS budget. Do you know why that resulted?
Go back to the history of the district and all that with most districts. Our federal funding is really not known all for it. So you'll note that revenue begins to decline.
Right. And the material supplies budget also had a big drop, which would be good. The first thought that came to my mind was with our science adoption now complete, that's usually a big one-time extra expense. Is that why that's not dropping?
The science adoption is in the budget
Okay.
the reason for the drop is just you.
I have a question about the Fund 12, the Child Development Program Fund. Is that included in general funds? And so it's not included in the report, along with Fund 13, which is nutrition?
There isn't a presentation slide for it. On the state report, which is our SACS report, it's page 49 of 124 of the PDF.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Closing this public hearing then. And I'm opening the public hearing on spending determination with respect to fiscal year 2019-2020, monies received from the Educational Protection Account, or EPA. Mr. Khan.
Thank you, Mr. Connexta. Just an annual report that provides a resolution for the board to approve at the following board meeting, whereby the board will resolve to use all monies garnered under Resource 1400 to pay teacher salaries only.
Usually teachers want to be paid. Good idea. And moving on to our normal session with the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I have a couple pictures to show you this evening. The first one is of Ansel Adams Elementary School. They raised almost $6,000 in the Pennies for Patients effort for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. They are very excited to be able to donate that money, and the student government is shown there along with their principal, Mr. Coughlin. Congratulations to Ansel Adams. The next picture is from Mosier. They have an annual McNair Dance Club assembly. It is a wonderful assembly where the 3 dance clubs performed. 6 students talked about how to be successful in school and using perseverance to reach your goals. So thank you to Mosier and McNair for putting this together for their students and getting them excited about their high school experience. Also just want to share with you that the Got Kids Casino Night is being postponed. So if you were looking forward to the June 22nd date, it's going to be sometime in the fall where we can hopefully get some more folks excited about that, and we will give you the new date soon.
Is that it? Any comments? All right. Comments from the public. A 20-minute time period has been set aside for the public to address the board on items not listed on the agenda. Each public speaker shall limit his or her comment to 3 minutes, but is welcome to distribute any materials to the board and or the staff. Due to the restrictions imposed by the California Brown Act regarding discussing topics that are not on the agenda, board members may not engage in dialogue about the issue. I don't have any cards. Does anybody from the public like to come on up and state your name and tell us what's going on?
Hi, board. My name is Pete Schrader. This is Eddie Durr. We're both parents of girls that play on Lodi High softball team, and I'm here to request that the Lodi School Board find a way to address the disparity in the baseball and softball experiences of the athletes at Lodi High School. As the program is currently run, there is what I believe to be a Title IX violation. Title IX states that no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. The courts have repeatedly deferred to the 1979 government interpretation of the law, which addresses 3 main areas. Financial assistance, which does not apply really to Lodi Unified School District. equality in other program areas, which specifically are equipment and facilities, which does apply to the situation, and then effective accommodation of the interests of both sexes, which also partially applies. Really, the essence to me of the issue is that the girls do not have an on-campus softball facility at Lodi High School, unlike all the other high schools in the district, while the boys do have 2 on-campus baseball fields. Instead, the softball players are forced to commute 1.7 miles every day to practice in the games. In addition, the girls are forced to transport softball equipment every day, while the boys can store their equipment in the shed. Because the boys are on campus, they also have access to a locker room. The girls do not have a locker room facility, so they're forced to change their clothes in the cars, which after the Lodi softball complex is a place where there are homeless encampments, so it's really not a good situation. In addition, the girls don't play on regulation high school softball field, while the boys play on regulation baseball fields. The softball fields at that complex are constructed for men's slow pitch, and therefore really do put our girls at a competitive disadvantage. I've spoken with the Lodi athletic director, who encouraged me to come here and raise the issue in public comment. I've not filed a complaint with the district or with the Office of Civil Rights, and I would really just like to give the school and the board a chance to handle the situation. This is not uncommon. There have been other cases in California and across the country in which litigation was required to rectify the situation. Most recently, the Fayetteville School District settled with parents there to upgrade softball facilities, although there was one in San Diego in 2007, another one in Florida in 1997. I'm really just hopeful that the Lodi Unified School District can find a way to construct a softball field on campus so that our girls have a similar experience to the baseball boys. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any other comments? And remember, we can't respond to that, even though we have 2 excellent lake directors here. Okay, that's it then. Okay, board comments.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Nava.
Yes, first of all, I want to congratulate all the graduating seniors that we had last week. I attended all their comprehensive graduations. I'd say it was a first-class operation on all of them. I want to congratulate all other people that were promoted from 6th to middle school, from middle school to high school, and thank the teachers for all the job they do and preparing these students for the next future. Thank you.
Any other comments? I have one announcement then. I guess because I'm the president, I get stuff from the County Office of Education. So I did receive the quarterly report for reporting purposes of April 15th, 2019. The San Joaquin County Office of Education has not received notification of any uniform complaints. That's a good thing. We didn't get the complaints. Concerning sufficient textbooks or instructional materials, school facilities being clean, safe, and maintained in good repair, teacher vacancies, or mismanagement under the uniform complaint procedure. So congratulations to us again. I mean, we did pass our quarterly report. Okay.
I do have something.
Okay, Mr. Hibley.
Thank you. I, like Mr. Nam, would like to wish congratulations and good luck in the future for our graduates. Roughly 400 went through high school graduation at each of the comprehensive high schools, which I was able to attend. There are a lot of schools that have their ceremonies kind of at the same time when you get to middle school and high school, or elementary school, for like 6th grade kind of in the room kind of things. So we don't get to go to a lot of those. This year I was able to go to Lodi Middle School, and 405 8th graders were promoted at Lodi Middle, and I had the distinct pleasure and honor to shake 405 little sweaty palms as they came across and got their little cards. So, you know, a side note that I noticed in all of them, whether it would be a promotion or graduation, is that they acknowledged the work of their teachers and school staff in caring about them and really providing what they needed for success. And also, it was really nice that they turned and thanked their parents or guardians that were kind of their support network and kind of helped push them along the way too. I think that's only appropriate to thank those that are involved in getting the kids the success that they deserve. So very nice ceremonies. So they were really a pleasure to go to. Thank you.
Any other comments? Go ahead. Porter.
Like Mr. Heberly, I was able to attend all the high school, like we all were, graduations, and they were all excellent. I also had an opportunity to go to Millswood, and I have to beat out Mr. Heberly. We had 428 students. But Principal Lindsay, being a former student of mine, made sure that I didn't have to shake everybody's hand. It was a wonderful event. The young lady that spoke for the school was outstanding, and some of our politicians should take some lessons from her on inclusiveness and so forth. But it was a really wonderful time for me, done on the blacktop, and it's just a great event to see the youngsters coming through that are so mature and handle so well at Millswood. And it's a credit to their staff and, of course, to their faculty, to their administration on how well the students behaved. It was really a great event for myself.
Any other comments? Well, then maybe I should talk about Chris McCall. One thing I did see there that was different that I haven't seen before, but I'm not a music guy. There's 3 young ladies that sang the Star Spangled Banner, and it was different in that at times they were all together, but each had a different part, and so they bounced around with different verses. And I thought it was kind of interesting and different that I haven't seen before, but that was kind of cool. Okay, let's go on then to consent agenda items. Board, do you have any items you'd like to pull? I believe we need to pull A8. Is that right, Mr. McKilligan?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to pull A2, please.
A2. Any items the public would like to pull from the consent agenda? Okay, can I have a motion for the remainder, Mr. Nava?
Chairman, I move we approve all the rest of routine agenda A.
Mrs. Park, can I have a second?
Yes.
There we go. We have moved and seconded that we approve all items except for the 2 that were pulled. And we don't have any students, so we're just going to go right to the board vote.
Mine did a similar thing earlier. I had to log out and log back in.
I gotta log out and log back in.
Oh, here.
This is right.
There you go.
But she still has to join the meeting. She's not getting that.
No, she's back in the, she's not getting the
She's
vote.
not joining the meeting though.
Too many boys. You want my password?
Yes, I understand.
Hey, look, now it goes to play.
Good with that.
Did you join the meeting though?
Can you imagine having 35 students
There you go.
trying to figure this out? Yeah.
I got one. Oh, she's been here 3 years. I figured it out. No, she just.
That's
Okay. There she goes. Is it going to come up? Well, I can tell what I can tell you.
We all voted.
Yeah, it's up there. Passed
5-0.
5-0. Okay, even though it's not up there, I can see.
Oh, it's on your screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on now.
A2, Mr. Hibley?
Yes, Mr. Conn, there was a contract that you're asking us to approve, and it was the same one that was at the last meeting, that I asked to table pending further information, and that's about doing a site analysis of, what is it, Site I?
Yes, sir.
So, I haven't really received any additional information other than what's on the packet tonight. So my question is how does this dovetail into what we're doing tonight, further down the agenda.
So what we'll discuss is the beginnings of the district's real property acquisition plans back in 2006. How Side-Eye rolled into that, how on April 2nd, we asked for board direction to proceed with investigating the purchase of Side-Eye, which also includes state mandated due diligence. So we've actually got a CEQA and a geologic engineer working now. We've pulled them off the job, but they have completed work that we are presently unable to pay them for until this contract gets approved. But Side-Eye is an instrumental target in the board's original plan back in 2006. And I hope to stress today that Business Services believes it's one of the main targets we should be working on.
Is this the one that is,
West Lakes.
Something west?
West Lakes.
West Lakes. And that's the, how far out are they to building on that? I think it said something like 5 to 7 years or so.
The first subdivision of 125 market homes is going right now.
Oh, okay. They've got roads cut and they're starting to. Okay, is this also west of Manuel Silva?
It's just right across the street.
Okay. Yeah, I was always kind of surprised that, because where is this on a floodplain? Let me just ask that.
It's there and it's right, the property that we are looking at, and the board may recall that a CDE engineer did come out and look at the property and gave us the okay to begin due diligence. But the 18 plus acres that the Spanish organization has carved out for school purpose is right up against the levee.
Oh, great.
Okay. Well, it's not going to matter where it is, anywhere west of I-5. There were plans when they were close to flooding to where, to basically fill in the roads that go under I-5 and stop the flooding at I-5. So that's why I was always kind of curious that they allow these subdivisions in with the floodplains.
Well, I imagine when Geotech is done with their investigation, there's going to be some serious soil compaction requirements.
Yes. Okay, I was just kind of curious how far that goes. But obviously they're approving homes there and they have already approved Manuel Silva there. So, okay. I just wanted to make sure now, is this located by their choice or by our choice?
It's their choice in terms of where the school site can be located.
And it works for us?
It will. There are a couple interesting things. They do propose apparently a sky bridge. I forget the name of the street that runs north to south just west of Manlio. But there will be a sky bridge that apparently is supposed to connect to Hammer Lane. And the school will be right next to that sky bridge, but there probably won't be any linear feet running north to south in terms of road improvements and sidewalks that the locality can place on the district at that time. We'll still need to pay our share of the east-west road improvements on the front part of the school. That something like that could be a
You say
lifesaver.
Hammer Lane? From that school to Hammer Lane?
No.
8 Mile, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's a huge difference.
That's a long one.
That's a big, long bridge, too.
That's all I have, and with that, I would move to approve.
Second.
Okay, first and second, call for the vote. Bill Stevens.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry, public comment, sorry.
This goes to two items. The first is 6, with parenting partners. I see another 55,000. Can you tell us the total cost? Because I think we just approved some other contracts last to the board meeting before that. Do we have is this the overall total expenditure for 1920 for parenting partners or part of?
Total cost?
Total for 1920? This includes all training and everything? Okay.
Yeah, sometimes, Michelle, it's a little confusing where they'll give you a number and then they'll say that adds, and then our total is this.
Right.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
So, yeah, and as you look at number 9, it does give an amount for a total of,
Yes.
which it doesn't for that one. The other is 8. Can you tell us what the child abuse prevention, we're giving them $926,000 for exactly what is involved in that? Is this part of SAFE? Is this part something totally different? I see that it's, with regards to our students, but who will be doing what for that amount of money?
That is the SAFE program that our Title I schools contract with through the Child Abuse Prevention, and they have technicians and support people that come out to work with our students.
So it is the SAFE?
Yes.
So do we have, through the president, for Ms. Katowski, do we do any follow-up as to the effectiveness of this? Having been out at several school sites, principals have indicated to me that not all the students can be seen because parents won't sign the permission slip, for lack of a better term, the contract. And 2, the turnover for those people has been high at some sites. So have we done any kind of survey as to, is this effective the last 2 years? I know we increased last year, but I've heard a lot of negative comments this year about its implementation and how the people that we've contracted out aren't always there.
You have to talk to Lisa. Or
Can you come to
Can
the
I
mic?
can I answer? Yes, we do. We contacted the principals and we have meetings with the principals and discuss. We get a monthly report of every incident that every month they provide us a report for incidents, and we communicate with the child abuse about when individual staff members become pregnant, have to leave. Life happens to people, so they do have a change in staff occasionally.
So do we have a number, do we know how many students we reached last year?
Yes, I don't have that in my head right now, but yes, we do have that.
Okay, any ballpark on that? And comparing to last year's number, is this higher? Are we expanding it to more sites?
We included 2 additional sites this year, yes.
And those sites are?
I believe it's, now you're asking me to remember something, I believe it's Needham and another Lodi school. I don't have that. We worked out that arrangement.
Okay. I'm sorry, I haven't seen anything on Safe Schools and as part of maybe in the future report and seeing the feedback that sites gave, because I'm kind of surprised.
Let me help out on that too a little bit. First of all, I want to thank you for bringing it up because I had that circled on my list of contracts. Of course, I left that at home. And I forgot about it. But I had very similar questions. We also had a report item on the SAFE program, and the people from the Child Abuse Prevention Council were also saying exactly what you were saying, is that the participants were very transient, and I specifically asked, well, how many started, how many went all the way through and completed, and it was a very low percent. Like 20-some% actually finished the program. So it was more of a kind of a hit and miss kind of thing. And so ever since that report, I've had kind of some real concerns about, are we getting the best bang for our buck in that program? So.
I mean, I'm just thinking for that kind of money, could we be using it for elementary counselors additionally? That we know are our employees and that they're there and they're regularly seeing students.
Wasn't
as
this a
compared
grant,
to.
though?
This is coming out of Title I, so the
Okay.
service
I
is all
thought
the
it
students.
originally started through a grant, and then as that went away, we kept.
It originally started through the LCAP,
LCAP.
and then it moved to Title I when we had to do, 2 years ago, when we had to do some switching of.
In the future, I'll be asking for an update.
So maybe just the effectiveness, and granted, like you, I usually hear the negative, not necessarily the positive. I can't say I've heard any positives this year about the SAFE program at any schools. So that seems like an awful lot of money for when I'm having teachers and even principals saying, we don't see the effectiveness of this reaching all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. Any other comments? Okay, so we're still on A2.
No, we already have a
Oh,
motion.
I did motion. Oh, yes, okay. Okay, well, then we had a first and second, and we're ready for the board vote. One, two, three, what, passes 5-0. And then A8, I'm going to turn this to Mr. McKilligan.
Yeah, Mr. Connextad, you can approve this. The header at the top of page 2 is incorrect, but we'll fix that going forward when we meet with CSC and bargain the.
So everything's fine except for the typo.
Okay. The header on the second page.
And with the approval, you will change it?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve A8 with the change of header.
Second.
Okay. Here we go, then call for the board vote. And that one is approved 5-0. Okay, consent agenda B.
Chairman, I move we approve consent agenda B, discipline cases.
Thank you.
Second.
We have first and second. Any comments? Okay. Call for the board vote. Okay, that passes 5-0 also. Moving on to other action items. Other action item 1, provisional internship permit and approval of Mr. McKilligan.
Yes, Mr. President, board approval is required for all PIPs now, so.
Okay. Any public, any work on it? Public comment?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this California Commission Teacher Credentialing Requirement. That's more.
Second.
Okay, I've got a first and a second. There's no student vote, so I'm calling for the board vote.
Love the acronyms. What are the steps?
And it passes 5-0. Okay, other action item number 2 is Career and Technical Education Administration, Mr. Palmquist.
Thank you, President Connexted, members of the board, Dr. Washer. You may remember at the last board meeting, we had a report item with Julie Jansen. We're bringing this back to you as an action item. We have both Julie Jansen and Mark Troutman here if there are any questions. I have prepared 3 bullet points to refresh you as an executive summary, but they're looking to expand what they're able to do in our CTE program, and no new or additional funding is needed. It's funding authority within the program. If there are any questions, we have them here.
Okay. Any board comments?
Question.
Yes.
I didn't see in one of the bullet points that they were going to do grant writing, but I think in your report that would be kind of one of those things.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm already doing that now, so I will
Right.
continue to do that
Okay.
and manage all of the grants.
Because I know there were, from your predecessor, talking about CTE, and I'm kind of a fan. There were a lot of consortiums that were involved in, there were a lot of grants that were involved in, that they all take separate paperwork and separate
Yes, sir.
timelines and all that stuff.
They all have
And it
their own
sounded
requirements.
extremely cumbersome. But as long as we get the money, it's a good thing. It just puts
Yes.
work on you, unfortunately.
Yes.
Sorry about that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
That was my only question, is if that was part of it too.
Mr. Hebler, are you asking if this new position would be involved in the grant writing?
Not really, is that
Okay.
somebody will still be involved
Okay, got it.
within that, of your administration makeup.
Yes, sir. I will oversee all of CTE, continue to oversee all of CTE and adult education.
Now, does the district-wide grant writer also assist in that?
When requested, I would say Julie does
Okay,
the bulk of it.
okay, very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this administrator at the CP.
I'll second.
Okay, we have first and second. Mrs. McFarland got that second in, by the way. Okay, no student vote, but we do have a board vote.
We don't have students here, do we? Oh.
Just going by the book, yes.
Go by the chief's
Rule book. Go by the rule book.
Okay. Put it right there.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, this passes 5-0. And the third action item, other action item is technology services reorganization proposal by Mr. Khan.
Thank you, President Knight, members of the board, Dr. Washer. Back for board approval is the requested reorg, no-cost reorg of the IT department. In essence, this request is driven by the fact that we are moving slowly from a hardwired, or actually not slowly, from a hardwired desktop computing environment more to a cloud environment. It requires different skills, at least one higher level skill, and then also additional assistance and support for all the documents that will be processed.
My computer at home always tells me the cloud's full once they advise it. How do I get rid of that?
Don't mess with it.
First, you need to understand the concept of the internet. Then when you start kind of just going, forget it, they come up with the cloud, you just kind of go, what?
Just don't mess with it.
Just
Okay,
keep
that's
it
what I-
flowing.
Okay, any board comments other than our
No.
banter? Public comment? Hi.
Good evening, Superintendent, excuse me, President Conexton, members of the Board of Superintendent Washer. I was gonna give you a promotion there, big superintendent. Deborah Ladder from CSEA again. My question just is, are these two positions that are gonna be eliminated, are those currently vacant?
They are.
They are vacant, okay. So why are there?
Actually, I'm sorry, one of them is not vacant.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is because under the comments where you have their range and their step, I thought usually when they were vacant that they were kept at C, and you have one at B and one at F. So I was just wondering how that worked out. But, so they are vacant, they're not vacant?
One of them is vacant,
One is vacant. Which one?
the network technician.
Oh, okay,
So that'll be eliminated and increased to a lead.
okay. So that'll be a new position then go up for posting?
Correct.
Okay. And the PC support technician, which is not vacant, what would be the plan for that one?
Actually, I'm sorry, I think they're both vacant. Let me get back to you on that, Deborah.
Okay, I'm just wondering how we're planning to deal with the people if there's
I
actually people
don't,
in the position.
there is no layoff in this proposal, so
Okay, so it could be they're both vacant
I
then?
believe so.
Okay, so if we change the funding back to C, which is generally what we would do if there's vacant positions, that's how we budget is at C, is it still gonna be a zero-sum game there?
Yes.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this tech service reorganization.
There you go. Okay. Call for the board vote. Mr. Nova, for me, there's no students, so.
You can tell it's summer.
And it passes 5-0. Okay, we have some routine personnel matters with Mr. McKilligan we need to take action on.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve personnel matters.
Second.
I noticed Mike didn't do this time.
Yeah. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Calling for the board vote to approve personnel matters. And that should pass 5-0. Okay, so employee group reps, any comments that?
Why don't you sit in the front row?
Yeah. There's an empty seat right up here. You can just.
Are you healing up okay?
There was that really nice chair and a table to work on.
Well, welcome to summer. State of Affairs teachers, their first 2 days off after all those graduations that you mentioned. I know that there were teachers that were there were some hiccups in Aries and trying to get grades in, and there were some hiccups with accessibility to parents in Aries, and I guess not all of the high schools do it the same way, where they cut off access to parents seeing their child's grade before the last day of school. So that might be something in the future to look at, so it's more consistent across, so everybody knows all of it will be open or closed in order for the grades to be updated. In the world of CTA and Leo, we have a newly elected CTA president. Our local director, Toby Boyd, who you've seen here at board meetings, has been elected and was sworn in on Sunday as our new CTA president. So we are looking forward to that change within our own organization, and someone who is local, an Elk Grove teacher. We have sent out our LEA calendars for executive board and rep council next year, and we hope that sharing those calendars with everyone on those Mondays, that both professional development events can be not scheduled on those same days, so that we make sure that we have that communication getting to our members and to each site. With regards to calendar in the district, we were a little dismayed to hear that there were open houses the same night as the retirement reception here at the district. So it was rumored that a couple members couldn't go because they had open house. So maybe we can relook at the district calendar and site calendars and make sure that we don't have important events like the retirement reception overlapping sites open house. We had some hiccups in packing up and ending the school year. I know that I mentioned before when we were on year-round, we got to be a very efficient machine packing up our classroom and being out by 2 o'clock or 12 o'clock, depending on your site, and that next teacher moving in all of their stuff for the next round. We had quite a few teachers moving sites, and there seems to be some confusion or not clear communication to members as to when they could leave their site to go to their new school that they're going to be at next year. And many of them were told, well, you can't come in today because that teacher's still in there. So maybe we just need clear policy about if a teacher's leaving, let's set something up at least so that that teacher moving out can go put their stuff in a spot at that new location. If the site is doing deep cleaning or they're giving that teacher extra time to move out, we need to be cognizant of the new teacher coming in. So our very efficient year-round moving in and out, I think has, we have new principals that haven't been on that. We have teachers that haven't been on that in quite a while. And I think just to respect those teachers coming in and respect the teachers moving to a new school, that we have a clear expectation. And if not the same, at least that those principals at the new sites are communicating with that. Contractually, those teachers are done. They shouldn't be told, you have to come back in July to bring all your stuff. So I think we just need to make sure that we're clearly communicating how packing up and moving on to a district works. The other thing we heard a lot about was
the checking in and out of keys and badges. I was that teacher that worked during summer setting up my classroom and lesson planning and setting things up. We have some sites that you can show them, see, I still have my key, and then it's rechecked out for you so that you can come in. Some are given codes, some are not given codes. I understand the safety risk, but if a teacher's volunteering their time and they want more time to set up their rooms during summer rather than that first week, can we be a little more flexible and clear and consistent? Because it varies widely. Some, I heard, had to turn in their badge, which I had never heard before. And I get the accountability piece of that. I think the only time you'd want to turn in your badge was if you were retiring or leaving the district. And maybe that was the case. I did not get specific sites on that. So maybe just that whole going out and coming back in, we can look at for clear communication between sites, administrators, and new hires. Also want to make sure that our new teachers and again our preschool teachers, general ed, have startup supplies. So if we can make sure that we are looking into that, that they have that to start up. And I am sure, I'm beating the dead horse, that classrooms are clean and ready for teachers to move into that first Tuesday that we are back to work.
We have a comment, we have a report on that.
I also appreciate working with Jill Davis on working on the safety list of rolling that out to teachers about your walls, your appliances, your furniture, carpets, rugs, and all of that. So I appreciate that collaboration and us. We want to be on the same page to make our environment safe. Yet we also want to make sure that we're not hindering part of the curriculum pieces. So we do appreciate that collaboration piece. And with that, it is summertime, and so I guess we'll see you only in a couple of weeks, and then we're off for July. So thank you for your time tonight.
Mrs. Orr, I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
Have you talked to your members about grade dumping?
About, I'm sorry, what?
Where students say in high school, a teacher will dump 14, 15 assignments in right towards the end of the quarter.
I have not heard of that.
It's happening. And parents are kind of caught off guard by that because their son or daughter might have a B, and then going into the final, suddenly it's dropped down to a C or D with 15 assignments that have been added in. So if we could get them to periodically update areas so parents can stay on top of that, that would be outstanding. Secondly, I agree with you that there has to be a system in place for them to turn their keys in and get new keys to the site they want to go to. But in addition, teachers have to be ready to move. Because sometimes...
Agreed, and I think that's where that maybe communication is breaking down with the teacher who's leaving isn't given a hard time and date to be out. Where we used to have a checklist and your room will have these things that you signed off and you're out by this time and your keys have been turned in by this time.
But I agree with you that we need a system in place set up by the administration, both at the high school level and at the elementary level, that you have such and such date to get out, such and such date to get your stuff in, a new key. And a lot of teachers like to work during the summer in the classroom, I realize that. I don't like the idea that keys are being withheld for whatever reason. If those teachers are coming back, so I agree with you on that. So that issue is important to me, but I think it's a kind of a collaborative thing between the administration and the teachers. Some are slow getting out, some are good at packing up. And then of course, the administration from one school to the other, there's this inconsistency that's going on, and maybe our head of secondary, head of elementary could set up some type of timetable so teachers know when they're supposed to get things done. But turning in their badges is not appropriate, nor restraining their keys, unless, of course, they're moving on to a new site.
Yes,
So,
great. And I will take that back. I have not heard of that. I do know that there are certain times that assessments are uploaded. I know that certain sites use the online gradebook and other sites don't. So, and
well, I know
at the
Lodi High
elementary-
shuts down areas the week of finals, so nobody can get access to it. And it's probably because the parents are bugging the teachers. And I get that, but I guess then if you're also getting grade dumping, there's issues there as well. So I would like to see a more consistent approach by all the principals at all levels for the students, teachers, and parents.
I think that's great.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Any other comments? Deborah? CSEA?
Good evening again, Deborah Ladwick from CSEA. Let's see here. So I just wanted to say we made it. We got through another year, and I had a grandbaby who promoted from the 6th grade. It was my first time to actually have someone in Lodi that moved on. It was very difficult for me, but I got to watch him, and it was wonderful.
Just wait.
I didn't realize that 6th grade promotion was so varied. His particular school, they had a little ceremony and we watched and they gave out certificates. But I saw on the district Facebook that some of the schools did it clapping, where they clapped out the 6th graders, so like the whole school celebrated the 6th graders. I thought, oh, that's really cool. I wish I would have been in one of those schools to see that. Because I just thought that, I love that they were celebrating all of the kids. The whole school was celebrating the 6th graders. I thought that was a really neat idea. So anyway, that's my personal end of school. Yes, we made it, thank goodness, and we're moving on. I'm sorry I wasn't here at the last meeting. Thank you for the resolution regarding CSEW, that it's very important to us to celebrate ourselves, and we really appreciate the recognition of the school board and the respect that you show for us. It was greatly appreciated. Thank you. During our May celebrations, we were able to recognize our unsung hero, and this year our unsung hero was Belinda Gates, who is a campus security, I think they're called, supervisor over at Lodi High. She's been there for a number of years and serves our chapter as well as the district very well, and she was very honored. We gave her award at an area event down in Merced the first part of May, so that was really fun. And then 2 weeks ago, we had our CSEW event for our chapter, where we had about 300 folks that came out for a dinner and a raffle, and we had a whole bunch of vendors there giving away free stuff, and so it was really fun for our members. It's just a chance for our members to celebrate each other and just, you know, sit back and really appreciate the family that is CSEA, that, you know, we all try to work together. The classroom issue that we were just talking about, the, you know, moving in and out, I have no idea how that affects teachers, but the first people that I thought of were the custodians. And if the classrooms were going to be actually empty, because there was a teacher that was leaving, I thought that would be a great time to be able to let our custodians get in, so maybe we could plan it so that they could get in and do some real deep cleaning without anything in before the new teacher brings in all of their own personal stuff. So just a suggestion that maybe we could make sure we talk with the facilities folks about scheduling that so that we can make sure that we can best serve everybody. And then I wanted to thank you. I've been talking about our CalPERS retiree issue for a number of months, and we've been at the bargaining table, and I'm very hopeful that next time when we come to see you, we'll be able to say that we are all very successful, but we've made great progress, and I appreciate the effort that the board has been willing to put in for this issue. It's a big issue, especially for our retirees, and I appreciate that you've stood by your word and helped us. So thank you very much, and other than that, happy summer, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We got a few reports that we need to go through. Mr. Palmquist is up first. He's going to talk about the, oh wait, I missed superintendent's report.
Thank you.
She's good.
You know, there's supposed to, you get no students here? Okay, so we're going to go on.
They already left.
McNair High School plan for their academic intervention.
Thank you, President Connect, and members of the board, Dr. Washer. I've actually asked Mark Dawson to be here tonight. We've been talking for a good part of the month now, month and a half, at some board meeting we had at Julia Morgan, in addition to some follow-up reports about a more systematic, consistent aligned approach to intervention, course placement, and our school's collaboration, how they're doing with that. Over the course of the year, we have been collaborating in our principal groups, and I've seen some really great things out of McNair High School this year. They also have some lofty plans. They've been working in their PLC model. They actually got commended for that through their WASCA accreditation, which went through. And so I asked Mark Dawson, and I'm going to ask all of the principals to come and present before the board. So there's transparency, opportunity to ask questions, answer questions. And we're also, for context, we have already reached out, although albeit, some are rapidly upon us, to some teachers and counselors and working with school sites to put together a task force so that we can really move into some data, some deep data analysis, some policies and some procedures, as I know the board is interested in. And so with that, Mr. Dawson has prepared a report for you. There is an executive summary. He's making himself available to some of the work that they're doing on Ronald E. McNair High School's campus. Mr. Dawson.
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer. What we prepared for you is plan some of the things that McNair has been doing over the past couple of years, some of the things we're piloting this year, and then some of our plans for the future.
You can press forward.
All right. We all recognize that there's an urgent need to address low academic performance. We've talked about the data, we've seen the data. I look at the data every day. It's one of the things that I've done since I took over McNair starting in 2017. Something that I have recognized, our staff has recognized, is that we have to offer intervention during the school day, in addition to our after-school supports. We have a very extensive after-school program, and the district through the LCAP has been great about providing funds for that. However, after-school intervention doesn't always do the job. We have students who don't go. We have students who have obligations after school. Some students have to go care for younger siblings. Some students have to work. Some students, they don't do well on a subject to begin with. So to ask them to go after school and do more work in a subject that they're not successful in is a tough ask. So what we have recognized is that we need to offer intervention during the school day. We've been piloting some targeted interventions this year. They are outlined in some of the future slides. We've developed a new intervention schedule that we plan on piloting. My goal is to pilot it 4 times during the 2019-2020 school year and collaborate with the secondary task force to start to address some of these issues, not just at McNair, but system-wide. So, talked about this. The number of students who fail classes, specifically core classes, is very high. Talked about the intervention at the high school and why some of that's not successful. And I talked about that, so I'll go ahead and move on. So currently, McNair High School, we offer some different interventions. Beginning the 2016-2017 school year, students who failed high school math were placed in the math intervention pathway. 2016-2017, 118 students entered the pathway. These are students who failed high school math, mostly as 9th graders. In that pathway, 90% who stayed met the minimum graduation requirement, 60% completed more than the minimum graduation requirement, and 12 met the A through G requirements for math. So that means students who failed math, mostly as 9th graders, were able to go into the intervention pathway and meet the A through G requirements. And McNair's A through G numbers historically are very good But picking up 12 more students who are A through G eligible, particularly ones who were not successful first time through, is significant. 2017-2018, Social Science Department began a pilot targeted intervention during the school day. Teachers worked together to identify students who were not meeting standards to provide intervention while providing enrichment for students who were. I use the term targeted intervention, and that's important because we see the numbers and take a high school class of 30 kids. If 20% are failing, that means 6 kids may be failing. Of those 6 who are failing, they're more than likely failing for different reasons. 3 may be failing because they don't understand what's going on. 3 may be failing because they don't show up. You can't provide those 6 kids with the same intervention. They need something different. So that's why I use the term targeted intervention. We do offer a variety of courses at all levels, non-CP courses, intervention courses, along with other honors and AP courses. So we have been doing this, but I think the key lies in intervention and targeted intervention in the school day. Beginning last year, 2017-2018, our math department, in addition to their intervention pathway, began to pilot targeted intervention during the school day. Again, work to identify students who are meeting standards to provide intervention while providing enrichment activities for students who are not. Another key there is making sure that the students who are pulled out for intervention aren't missing anything new. And also the students who are being pulled out to get the enrichment aren't getting anything new, but they're getting something that will help them that is meaningful. Also beginning 18-19, our world language department provided targeted intervention for students who are not meeting standards. We were able to bring in a retired teacher to work with the students. I don't have data right now. I'm waiting for final grades. I should have that by the end of the week to see where the numbers are compared to last year. Also last year, English department, English, Science, PE department continue to plan to offer targeted intervention during the school day. So these plans are ongoing, and these are things that we are, as Mr. Pomper said, working in our PLCs to provide this intervention. A big part of that, though, is understanding what the students need. Future plans, again, we want to continue to provide targeted intervention in the school day for students who failed English language arts classes as well as social science classes. The plan is to provide students with the opportunity to build skills and recover credit. The fact that McNair operates on a 4x4 block gives us the opportunity to do a lot more of this during the school day. And also we plan to conduct a limited pilot of developed a school-wide intervention schedule. Staff is interested in piloting it. Again, my goal is 4 times during the 2019-2020 school year to really see what it looks like when you have 1,700 kids moving at one time to a different location to receive intervention of some sort. I don't know what it's going to look like. I know other schools, other districts have done this. I've been in contact with them. One of our staff members went to visit a school in Roseville who did something similar to this and brought back some good information. So our next step, we need to continue to develop and refine our interim assessments. I think district-wide, we've done a great job with our benchmarks, particularly in math, English language arts. Our social science department and our world language department have developed common assessments also. Our math department has developed common assessments along with the benchmarks. Another issue we see with intervention is often we don't know if a student's failing until it's too late. The way it stands right now, progress reports, if we start school July 30th this year, progress reports come out right around the 30th of August, so it's 4 weeks in. And if a student is sitting at about 30%, their odds of passing are probably pretty low. And we try to encourage them, we try to give them hope, but the reality is they've dug themselves a huge hole. And if we can identify early on that they're not being successful, we can provide that intervention that much earlier. That's where those interim assessments, I think, are very important. And again, our math department has developed that, our social science department has developed that, because then you can see what a student's missing and be able to provide that to that student. Again, visiting schools who offer this intervention within the school day. I had the opportunity to do 2 WASC visits with an administrator from Pittman High School in Turlock. His school does something like this My plan is to connect with him, take a trip down there in the fall to see how it works for them. And again, I've been in contact with a principal from Roseville Joint Unified who all four, I believe Roseville has 4 comprehensive high schools, all on a 4x4 block, all do some sort of intervention in the school day. So my plan is to do that and also provide professional development opportunities, the staff that focuses on intervention within the school day. And along with continuing to provide and refine the courses that we offer at all levels. Continue to offer our non-CP courses, the intervention courses, along with honors and AP, and then continue to work with the secondary task force because I think we have some good ideas, but we need everybody on board. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
You guys are on a block schedule.
We are on a 4x4 block.
Yeah, which I'm in favor of. Will these same types of intervention procedures work on the traditional schedule?
I think they could. I know other schools do something similar. I know Lodi High does some intervention, some mentoring in their SSR. I know Bear Creek has a special schedule that they use, I think 2 days a week, where they do some intervention. I think Tokay does SSR also. So I think it can. I know there are several models out there that can do.
They tend to be more innovative, but maybe with their schedule.
Yeah, there's a lot of ideas and there's a lot of models out there. One thing I never did ask the administrator from Pittman is what schedule they're on. I think that they're on a traditional 6-period day and they do this, so I know it's possible.
Well, sounds good. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I'm a little bit against Mr. Knackstead. I don't like block scheduling, but because you have 3 traditional, 1 block. I did notice that your test scores this year, you stopped the hemorrhaging, and you're positive.
Yeah, we're going the right direction.
Yeah, so congratulations.
Thank you
on that. And by the way, I really enjoyed your graduation. I'm sure it was wonderful.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Great job. So getting back to block scheduling, do you see any disadvantage being on block scheduling based on your test scores?
I see, I guess, philosophically I can see disadvantages, but I don't have anything to quantify that.
Right. Have you looked at other schools with, and I know it's difficult because you got to have the same socioeconomic background, same diversity, all that. Have you ever compared anybody with you?
I have not. I know that some of the Elk Grove schools who would be similar in demographic to us are also on a block. Their block operates a little bit different than ours. I know there are some different versions of the block.
Right.
I know a lot, particularly with our math pathway, if not for the block, we couldn't do that.
Gotcha.
So I know, and as we talk about intervention and providing the intervention, providing a broad course of study, and providing these opportunities for the multi-level classes, the block gives us that opportunity. But I do see some disadvantages.
Right. Now, and I'm with you. My jury's out on block scheduling. So
Why?
Why?
Yes.
I think the testing comes at a time when they're in transition, and it's affected them on when we're in No Child Left Behind, and I think McNair has been disadvantaged by that. Where many times they'll be finishing certain classes in the fall, but the test comes in the spring, and those classes have already been taken, and they've forgotten most of
The reason I ask you, because that's all I had, was block schedule, and I loved it, especially in my discipline, And the other teachers in the math department, social science department, they can do a lot more individual work, I'm not gonna back it up, but they tell me this, and it's such a great time to get the lesson started. You have to be innovative if you're a teacher because it's a long time, 90 minutes is a long time to have it. And my discipline was great because if you have a weight training class or PE class, you get all kinds of activities. But I would like to have maybe Jeff research the block schedule and research it a little bit and let us know what the benefits and non-benefits are of it as opposed to the traditional schedule. I think that would be great to know. I don't have any other reasons.
Well, Mr. Navi, you're a Renaissance man, and
Yeah.
You're more enlightened than I am. But thank you for those comments. How about 9th grade where you do an intervention, maybe during, I know they have to do health, driver's ed, right?
McNair offers, the class is called Seminar 101. That's Seminar 101. It is essentially a freshman study skills. They utilize added strategies. They utilize career planning
Now, does every
And
freshman have to take that?
every freshman unless they're avid.
Yeah.
And our graduation rate in 2017 was 81%, and our graduation rate in 2018 went up to just under 86. That was the first cohort of freshmen who had gone through this. So again, it's one-year data, and I can't say that the increase was based on the fact that these freshmen had gone through freshman seminar, but I also can't say that it wasn't. It certainly had an impact. So all of our freshmen get some sort of freshman intervention. We do have a strong AVID program, but if a freshman is not an AVID, then they would be in a freshman seminar.
Would it be better for you to use some of the AVID strategies across the board with all your classes? Or do you think that would be I mean, I know it kind of burns itself out as they go along. Doing the notebook and all that now when we have the Chromebooks and all that. Do you see where I'm headed with this? Do we need more AVID early with you at your school?
I don't know if it'd be beneficial. Again, I know a lot of the freshmen get it, and we have a lot of teachers who don't teach AVID who go to AVID training. So I think a lot of them will use those AVID strategies in the classroom, and it uses what works for them. And I think that's important for the teacher in the classroom to utilize what works for them, because I know 10 years teaching US history, there were AVID strategies that came down that I really liked, and there were ones that came down that I didn't feel would work. So yeah, I think that we're able to send several of our teachers every year to the AVID Summer Institute, and they utilize some of those strategies.
Good. My last question, because I think, I'll sum it up in a minute, but how about after-school parenting classes? How are those going? Do you offer anything like that?
We haven't yet. We do have people being trained this week going to the Parenting Partners classes. We have our community liaison assistant and our school resource officer, and 2 of our counselors are going this week, and that's something that we will be able to offer for next year.
And then I have one last thing.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
I enjoyed what you brought. The intervention, describe that to me in school.
So it works a couple different ways. With the math department is probably the best and cleanest example, because it's they did it in the first semester and it worked pretty well. So they would give, in the high school math, that's what they focused on because that's where the biggest need was.
Right.
They would give a weekly assessment, and the students who did not meet standards on that assessment would stay with their teacher and reteach and address those issues that they missed on. The teachers who met the students who met the standards rather would go for an hour to another classroom with another teacher on their prep period, and they would get some sort of an enrichment activity. Again, it would focus on the standards, but it wouldn't be anything new. It might be something fun, maybe a game, something that was meaningful. But the teacher was able to take the number of students, usually pretty low, who didn't meet the standards, and be able to address the specific standards that they didn't meet.
Did you have any fallout with bullying or anything, or stigmatism or anything like that?
No. In fact, I was doing a classroom observation at one point, and the teacher from the other classroom came in and said, hey, I want you guys come with me, and they left, and then the teacher was able to sit there and reteach. I think a lot of it is how it's presented and how it's packaged, and that's why as we pull the kids out and they go somewhere else, it can't be something fun that everybody else is doing.
Right.
Because you can't have the students who are staying behind feel like they're being punished. It's not a punishment.
Right.
It needs to be packaged as if we did this assessment and you guys didn't do very well, so we need to fix what's wrong so you guys can understand this. And these folks are going to go do something meaningful. They're still doing work. It's not like they're going to go have ice cream. But I think a lot of it's how it's packaged and how it's approached. That question came up with my social science department, and they didn't see any of that also, because I think the kids, the numbers are the numbers. If you realize that you didn't do well on an assessment, you know that, and maybe you need some help.
There's a chance to get better, right?
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to say is I really appreciate you being here tonight and bringing ideas. They might work, they might not, but that's all about, you're reflecting on what you're doing. And that's really a big credit to you. I mean, your staff will buy into this, and I know that you're working together with them in bringing ideas and trying to help kids be successful. And so kudos to you and your staff. I really feel your passion, and I like that. And so I'm just really pleased with what you did tonight, and coming here and meeting with us and sharing your ideas. Outstanding. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the support from the board, from Jeff and Dr. Washer, because I can't say that any of this is going to work.
No, you gotta try.
What I can say is, the things we've been doing haven't necessarily worked. And I appreciate you recognizing our numbers, and I think we're going in the right direction, but I think we need to do better. And we need to do better by our students, because ultimately, those are the ones we're serving. So we need to provide them every opportunity we can.
We all need to do better. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Just as a side note, there's several of us that are going to have their computers turned off here in a few minutes.
We all got a notice on our computers it's shutting down.
All right.
All the nice things I said about
We
you.
can add that.
I just want to let you know, I mean, okay, because I was thinking. Okay, any other comments?
Yes.
Okay.
Mark, great job for starting this. I have a question. Your teachers buy into this?
So far they have, yeah.
Okay. Secondly, do you identify these kids that are coming in from the middle schools at one time that they have very poor grades when you're into their high school? Do you identify them?
We do when placing them in math classes and in English language arts classes. Our math department chair identifies kids and makes sure they're all properly placed. All of that's done by the formula that's been identified by the district. And then our English department chair will also make sure kids are looking at the data and make sure they are properly placed. We don't necessarily look at grades or the SBAC scores when placing kids. We want kids to have that opportunity to go into those grade level classes right away.
Yes, and your first grading, your first grading period, you have already identified the people that are failing those classes.
Yes, and that's where I think we identify them and we know on the block, our first semester is over right around October 1st. So at that point, we know the students who are in need of the intervention, but our goal is to be able to identify that much sooner.
Yeah, do you feel that some of these students that fail your class, the classes at the 9th grade level, failed have failed the reading part of it, that they need some reading intervention more than anything else?
I would say that could be part of it, but the students who come in who are in need of the reading intervention would be placed in the Read 180, so that intervention would be provided. We look at middle school ELA scores, we'll look at the reading inventory scores as they come in. Any student who comes into McNair for the first time will take the reading inventory. I would say it's probably part of it, because the reality is the number of students who are in, there are probably a lot more students who read below grade level than are in Read 180, but it's not significant enough to need that.
Great job that you started this. You started before, you said when you started there, you started all this already, but it's a great thing that you have it within the school, within your classes. In other words, you don't do it after school, because as a former coach, I had study halls after class, but you know, when you have a grab on that because they want to play sports. You don't have a grab if you have these kids that are failing and you want to get them after school to come in there. I'm not going, I don't need that, and you lose out on a great percentage of it. So it's a great thing that you're doing the intervention within the school hours that you have. I appreciate that, and it's a good start. Thank you. I'd like to, when you finish this next year, I'd like to see your progress down again.
Me too.
Any other comments? Yes. Okay, Mr. Hamlin.
Well, obviously, if you know me, I'm very happy that you have multiple pathways for the kids where they have a chance to have some success. Mr. Nava alluded to exactly what I was going to bring up, is that you had mentioned that you would have a certain percent of kids at that first 4 weeks of school that you know they're going to, kind of percentage-wise, it's going to happen. And as soon as I heard you say that, I thought, well, do they have access, and do they really absorb what happened to that child in middle school? And of course, you said that that's all part of it. And you know, math, I know there's kind of a nature of saying that it's not as simple as, oh, they got a D, they go here. It's just not that simple.
Right.
And again, you know, I know that there is a place for after-school interventions, but you can't reach them all. And a lot of times, the ones that need it the most are not the ones that are gonna go there. So, and Mr. Porter mentioned it too, it's, you know, just that thinking outside the box, what that innovation is, you know, try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, how can we modify it, you know? And I'd really be interested to see how some of this works. I know Mr. Palmquist had mentioned that, you know, Lodi High did something during SSR, and so did you. And those kinds of things we need to somehow get to. And one of the things we've had a lot of conversations about, if you're on a semester system, having some quarter classes that would maybe help the freshmen. They could do health, or they could do, you know, whatever. However it works, so that the kids can get through the system in a successful way. What I don't like seeing is that they fail, and then we put them back. Mr. Palmquist is shaking his head. He knows that we've got to get them before they get too far down that pipeline, and you have a heck of a time retrieving them. It's just statistically difficult for them to get back up to where they need to go. So is there any kind of midterm adjustment in their classes, or you know, like lower the level or increase the level of where they are? Or is it all just within their assigned class that you would break them out and do those kinds of things? Is that more of what you do, is do a breakout kind of thing?
More what we do, and that's our plan, to do a breakout. Okay. And that's why those interim assessments are so important, to be able to identify early. There are very rarely midterm adjustments. If we think about our block schedule, term 1 and term 2, very rarely would there be midterm adjustments. We would take those on a case by case. There may be adjustments after the first term. We finish in December, right before the winter break, then we start in January. There may be adjustments then. However, generally speaking, our students are going to have a mixture of their academic core courses and their electives, first term and second term. So the adjustment, the best example I could give you is with a math intervention pathway. If a student in that first term takes high school math and doesn't pass it, when they come in their second term, they are unlikely to have math. When they come back in August as sophomores, say a ninth grader fails high school math, they come back as a sophomore, they go into that intervention pathway, so that adjustment is made. The reason we're able to do that is because with a 2-year math requirement, they have time to be able to go into that pathway and make that up.
So, if there's a place where they would, let's say half the class has to go in a math class, has to go to intervention, then is that coordinated with another math class at the same time to fill the class, and then or is it that you have, you're Title I school? Right?
We're Title I school.
So you have extra funding?
We do, and that's how we funded it this year, and that's how I plan to fund it next year.
I guess that's kind of where, you know, it sounds like there is a cost to it.
There absolutely is a cost. We have a great staff, but they're not going to do it for free, and I don't blame them. So we'll be able to pay them for their time. But to answer, one of the keys I think for this, again, focusing on math, but we've done it also in our social sciences, the students who aren't meeting standards don't go anywhere, they stay with their teacher because the teacher knows them. The students who are meeting the standards, they'll go with the other teacher to get that enrichment piece. It's entirely possible that if you have 10 students who are meeting the standards, they may be students who aren't necessarily focused, so to have them go somewhere else with a teacher that doesn't know them, I don't think would be effective. So they'd stay there. But yeah, the fact that we're a Title I school, we can pay for this, and it's going forward next year, our intervention in-school intervention for social science and for English language arts will be paid for through Title I.
We have several more reports, and we're closing at 9 o'clock. Okay, Mr. Khan, you have a plan for the start of the new school year?
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer. Yes, before the board is a timeline of how we're progressing through the summer short-term hire program, but we've also included the one consultant that we begun adding to check the HVACs as well. I'm sorry to say that we're now here at the question mark area on the timeline. Unfortunately, we only received 8 applications of the 36, so we will refly those positions and we'll begin processing the 8 applicants.
What's the problem with that? I mean, people just don't want to work?
I think 3.6% unemployment is, nobody's looking for a job.
Right.
So, but we'll keep hacking away.
Gary's available.
Yeah, I've got a 20-year-old that might be able to throw in some help as well.
So as part of this then, under the grounds part, what type of work are they, is that, that's just not landscaping, there's other things involved in that?
The mowing route, or the mowing routes as well, but also any special projects that need done.
Okay. Within, well, would it be painting exterior? Would it be?
Landscaping, no. So a good example of what a project might be is like what we did at Lockford last summer, where we we dumped a bunch of topsoil on their play fields, and more seed and more water as well. Although in Lockford you can only water so much.
Well, that's why I asked. I didn't know if grounds was just landscaping or grounds was, there was some physical plant work to be done.
Not that.
Oh,
It's
okay.
more outside.
Okay, great. And now the custodial, is it all custodial? Is it custodial and maintenance?
We're looking primarily for custodial for this group of individuals.
That's too bad that we got 8 out of 36.
We'll keep trying.
Because by the time that goes through, there's not going to be a whole lot of time to clean. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move on then. Mr. Khan, you're going to have the floor the rest of the evening. Your facilities report.
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer. So we've covered some of these items, so I'll brush through them really quickly, but as we go through the report, DJ, if you'll bring it up, the second slide is our current projections for enrollment across the grade level. The board may note that we're starting to look at grade levels by their LCFF funding. So next slide. The board will note that we are projecting both ADA and enrollment declines in the years to come. The next slide, the board will also note that over the last 12, 13 years or so, we've also experienced a decline in the students generated with new housing development as well. Following slide is a timeline of how we proceeded with Site I, which I will identify in just a second, but we did speak about it earlier. The following 2 slides are the board presentation or board report presented to the board on April 2nd, outlining the Site I site, the 19 Central Avenue versus 1205 East Vine Street property exchange, and then also potentially looking at the lot that's just, I believe, north of the Lockford School playgrounds, but in between Cotton Street and Lockford School. But I'll address, the next slide is Lodi. I'm sorry I used the blue highlighter to highlight hot spots. I know that hot is usually associated with red, but that sort of blocked some of the text on the page. But there are 3 spots that are really areas of focus for us. Turner Road, west of Lower Sacramento, is currently developing. The Harney Lane between Kettleman and, Lower Sac between Harney Lane and Kettleman. I've counted over 300 rooftops there. And then even though there's no development between Lower Sac and south of Harney Lane, that's an item that keeps coming up in terms of developer meetings. We have about 2 per year on that site. I do know their development is planned for that, although nothing is currently going now. The board may remember that the board does own 10 acres just off of Vine Street, west of Lower Sacramento. That is the Gantner site. That is raw land right now. It's an ag field and will require substantial improvement to build on. I'll go to the next slide. I did not identify this, but the board also is owner of about 15 acres just off of the east side of Marlette, east of Lower Sac. That is smack dab in the middle of an ag field as well. And then the board also owns about 10 acres right across from Ronald McNair Way, across from McNair. In terms of the board's current inventory, business would recommend a superintendent that Ronald McNair property is probably the most developable piece of land that the board does own now. The board is aware that we've been in discussions with the Spanos Corporation regarding Site I, which was identified as a potential site in the 2006 master plan. That has been appraised at approximately 100 and, I don't want to quote, I think it's 120-some thousand an acre. So we would like to continue looking at that site. As the board noted earlier, it is smack dab in the middle of levee land, west of the 5, and in all likelihood will receive ample suggestions in terms of how to improve the soil from our geotech. The last two slides were placed directly into this report from the 2006 master plan. And then finally, the last slide is the actual template that we use as we proceed through our due diligence to recommend the purchase of real property to the board. This is a path that's typically followed when presenting the idea of land acquisition to CDE and local agency boards. So be happy to answer any questions about it.
How about money? I know there's, with the new housing, you get developer fees, but typically they don't provide enough much of anything.
Your Fund 25 is, I believe, in excess of $11 million right now, so we have the money to apply.
Yes, not all of what we need, but yes, and that's a good thing. So we do the acquisition. For Site I, what type of school are you looking at?
I really don't have anything in mind. I do know the board at some point gave some level of direction towards K-8 facilities, but we did request a Spanos. The original lot size for the school was 10 acres. We did ask them to increase that. That would give the board several options. The Spanos increased from 10 to 18 acres. 18 acres would be a substantial K-8 site. There'd be plenty of room to put all the structure the board might wish and can afford, as well as all of the ball fields. There would still be the possibility of segregating that parcel so that you could have a K5, K6 site and a middle school site on the same property but separated by fencing. The board would have several options on a piece of land that size.
At the 15? I'm sorry, at the 15 acres?
18 plus, actually.
Oh, 18, I wrote 18 instead of 15. Okay.
Any other comments? Public?
Thank you, Mr. Khan.
Okay. And
Finally,
we'll let you just continue right on with your next presentation.
Thank you, President Kness, members of the board, Dr. Washer. The final report item is simply a policy revision to the board's 5125.2 and 6161.2. These policy revisions are driven by passage and implementation of AB 1974, which is the Public School Fair Debt Collection Act. I think the salient points in both of these policies in terms of the changes are that while withholding grades, diplomas, and transcripts is still available to school boards, in order to do so, sites must provide students with debt. And I actually misspoke. It would be the families of legal minority students or emancipated students. The school sites would have to provide due process prior to withholding grades, diplomas, or transcripts. And further, regardless of any debt owed, no student can be prevented from participating in a school scheduled ceremony. Graduation would be a good example. And then with parents of students where debt does exist, or those emancipated students who do owe the school district money, generally speaking, the language indicates that some level of vandalism must have occurred in order to invoke the portions of these policies, as well as the school district is not able to any longer turn these monies owed over to debt collectors. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Yes. So this takes into account library books, textbooks, Chromebooks?
Yes, sir.
So, okay, so, highlight that again. Are you saying we can't collect for those, for all students or for certain students?
No, we can collect all monies owed as long as the loss of those items was due to some type of vandalism or intentional damage done to the books or disposal of the books.
So if they just lost, so if they lost it,
yeah. Under the new regulations, under the due process portion, that would not be a reason for the board.
Tough. So the state is helping us again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other comments?
How do you prove vandalism if it's gone?
I don't know.
That's the
Good
point.
point. Yeah, so it's better just to lose it, not. And you know what, it won't take long for us to figure that out.
They're smarter than we think.
Are there any board advisory committee reports? Got it. Okay, I need a motion, Mr.
I move we adjourn.
Okay, we're out of here. Thank you for those of you who stuck around.